Class, I'm going to set up muna ha, sa live ha. Wait lang. Okay, we're 17. Haman ang uban, wala na nakabalik. No? All right. Let's have a discussion on the modifiers. So we have modifiers, no? How many modifiers do we have? Again, how many modifiers do we have?
Five.
There are 5. So let's start with ignorance. Okay, dali ra nino, it's already almost 12 na raba. So let me share my screen. This session for today is live stream on YouTube. So I'm going to send you the link so that later on you can share it with your classmates who are not here. Okay, so that's the YouTube where this session is being live. Okay, so let me share my screen. I don't know if it's sharing na. Nag-share na ba ko, guys?
Wala pa sa ko, ma'am.
Wait lang.
Wala pa po, ma'am.
Wala ko sa akin, ma'am.
Okay. How about that?
Nana, ma'am.
Okay. All right, we're talking about modifiers of human acts, no? So modifiers of human acts are actually, if their presence is there in the action, no? Meaning to say, the human act is not totally voluntary, or the human act may have a defect, or a human act may have a slight, a coercion, or there might be a force, no? So meaning to say, pag naa ni mga modifiers is either exempted ka sa liability, or secondly, imuhang liability is mitigated. When say mitigated, ang imong liability imbis death penalty or maybe lifetime imprisonment, mahimo na lang siya, let's say, 10 years or 3 years or 6 years baka ha. Kay naaman siya modifier. Nasabtan na siya, no? Contrary to what Joselito said kaganina, no? So, ang sakto nga answer is katong kang Miss kinsa ito last nga nag kuan kinsa tong last gani nag answer ka ganina
Ma'am.
ha ano say last name
Mosquera, ma'am.
Mosquera. Okay, so katong giingon ni Mosquera ni Miss Mosquera na either ma'am wala siya sala or dili siya ma-tag as liable because there is that presence. Okay? Wait sa class ha, kay na ay gusto mo sulod. So, okay, wait lang. Okay, so again, let's go back, no? Let's go back. So, modifiers here, like ignorance, no? Ang ignorance na siya absence of knowledge. Ang fear of violence na siya'y unsa naa siya'y ginatawag na absence of no outside force. So kung naay fear of violence, so pwede nga makaaghat ni sa imuha og act on something nga napugos ka. Something like wa kay choice ba? So wa man kay choice, so dapat mo act ka, no? Mo act ka on that fear or violence. While habit and let's say concupiscence, no? Pwede siya mahimong reason nga exempted ka because there was no intention really to kill or the intention really to do harm. Wala siya malice. So therefore, either exempted ka. Okay? Nasabtan? Okay. So let's go to ignorance. So ato ta sa ignorance, no? So ignorance is actually the absence of knowledge. Kaning ignorance, dili pasabot nga wa ka ka-eskwela. or dili ka kabasa, or no read, no write, dili na siya mao nga ignorance, no? So the ignorance we're talking about is actually, there are many kinds of ignorance, but what I will talk now is ignorance of law and ignorance of fact. Okay? Are you taking down notes, guys? Taking down notes mo, because
Yes,
I might have a
Yes,
quiz later on, no? Or I will be giving you the link for the quiz. Actually, nag-quiz kami sa other na sections, no? Sa inyo lang wala pa, kay kamo magud-ulahi within the week. So, ignorance is the lack of knowledge about a thing or you're being capable of knowing. So, is either imposible nga makabalo ka, or in your circumstance wa ka kabalo or di ka kabalo, dili wa siya gituyo ba? Ignorance, okay? First is the ignorance of the law. Ignorance of the law is actually the absence or lack of knowledge of the existing law or a certain law in that place, no? So for example, ignorance of the law. For example, no? Gikan ka sa Bukidnon, anhi ka sa city, or gikan ka sa Cagayan, adto kag Manila, ni adto ka sa usa ka lugar. Remember, no, there are some and the law is actually covering the national law or the city ordinance, no? Na ay mga cities in Manila nga dili pwede ang riding in tandem, so dili tanan. Ano yung mga ordinansa sa kada city sa Manila. So what if when you go here in Cagayan or maybe in Manila, wa ka kabalo sa ordinance dito, or maybe the law there, no? And then unsa nga law nga gibawal, ma'am? So let's say for example kanang jaywalking siguro, no? Kay dito sa Bukidnon, wa may jaywalking dito, no? So pag ani nimo sa Cagayan or Manila, tabok lang ka bisag asa. Or else, or nagtabok ka pero wala ka kakita sa karatula. You know what's karatula? Kanang dako kay nga sign ba? Wala, hindi tumawid dito. Bawal tumawid dito. So nitawid man gid ka. Jaywalking is you should only cross the designated crossing area, kanang PEDSing, no? Pedestrian crossing. So ni cross man ka sa dili pedestrian crossing, dili sa pedestrian. Always remember, no, kanang pedestrian dinha dagig ka motabok, dili bisag aha motabok diri sa city, no. Galing lang sa Cagayan de Oro, dili kaayo ta higpit sa jaywalking, but in other cities very very higpit. So what if in that scenario itabok ka nga dili dapat tabukanan kay wa makakabalo nga na day jaywalking, gidakop ka sa RTA kanang mga traffic enforcers. Question: are you liable or not? Basically, you're liable generally if you're from Cagayan de Oro. But because if you're not from Cagayan de Oro, you're from the other planet, no? Dinha pa first time pa nimo ni anha din lugara. The question is that ignorance of law, ma'am? Yes, that could be considered ignorance of the law. So what will be the evidence of that RTA or that traffic enforcer? So you should give what? What should you give so that there would be basis for you to tell nga, sir, di man ko taga diri, sir, taga Bukidnon gid ko, first time na ko ni Anis Cagayan. What will be your evidence? Anyone? Unsay dapat ipakita? Class, are you still there?
Unsa gani ang question mo?
Unsa ang question? Unsay akong kuan? Unsay akong scenario? Are you listening, guys?
Valid idea ta ma'am, or
Yes, correct. Si kuan naman siguro gapamati sa kuha. Oy, si Lito naman siguro gapamati. Di ko kakita ninyo ha, pero sa tingog, no, gakaila na nako inyong tingog. So meaning that's a valid ID in which you should give the traffic enforcer to give you the evidence that you're not from that city and that there is ignorance of the law on your part. Sabtan, that's ignorance of the law. Therefore, in that human act, wa nimo siya tuyua. Why? Because there was ignorance of the law. But if you know that there is a jaywalking, dako kay nga sign na no jaywalking, unya nitabok pagid ka na, dili na siya ignorance of the law. Pabuta-buta na siya. So dapat tikitan yun ka. And jaywalking here before now is 500 pesos. That's a penalty. Okay? So again, general rule, you are liable for jaywalking. But because there is ignorance of the law, which is the modifier of the human act of crossing the street while there is that jaywalking na law, and it so happened that you're not from there and you don't know the law on jaywalking, then you are exempted on the first offense. Bitaw na first, second, third offense. Pag mag-second nagig ka og third, then there will be a bigger penalty. Nasabtan, guys? Ignorance of the law?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Unsa man na example, ma'am? In rushing up to the university, does not know that there is a one-way traffic along the path that he is traversing. It's the same thing with this professor, no? He wasn't able on the sign, he doesn't, or either wala siya kabalo sa sign, di siya kabalo mo basag sign, or nag-drive ba baka siya nga wala siya kabalo sa mga signs, no? So, isa ni siya sa example, kay wala man siya kabalo na there is a one-way traffic law, then pwede siya absence or lack of knowledge of a certain law, and he is exempted to that. Okay? On first offense. Pero kung magsige na gani sa professor or si estudyante nga magsigig violate na dili na siya ignorance of the law, no? Dili na po na siya act of man. It's already a human act. Okay? Let's go to example, another example, ignorance of fact. Okay? Ignorance of fact is absence or lack of knowledge of anything or even the violation of a certain law, no? Pero na ako'y kanang example sa ignorance of fact, no? I'll give you one example. Dili lang ni mao, no? Let's say for example, ignorance of fact. Did I give you an example of that sister? Sister one night, no? The older sister and the younger sister. So the older sister was left in the house, and then the younger sister texted that I will not be going home, no? So in fact, dili kato nga balay nga ilang gipuy-an, I think I already gave you, no, this example. Ang balay nga ilang gipuy-an is near a area wherein nagkawatan, daghag drug addict and everything. Then one night, no, nag-chat si younger sister nga di siya kauli. But nag-change ang mind ni younger sister nga uli na lang siya. However, empty battery naman siya. So, wala siya nakaingon nga makauli siya. So, pagsulod sa younger sister, the older sister thought that it was a robber or it was somebody else, no? Dili iyang sister. So, iyang na pasakitan, napalo niya, no? With the lights off. So, eventually, what happened when the lights were turned on, it was supposed to be her what? Younger sister. So where is ignorance of fact there? Is the fact that wala kabalo ang older sister nga iyaha daytong younger sister. Okay? So meaning, in that scenario, there was no intention really to hurt the younger sister. Why? Because if she thought that that was her younger sister, then she will not do it. Nasabtan? Sabtan ba ko? Or nagyaw-yaw
Yes,
na
ma'am.
ko dirig wala?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
So, ang ignorance of the fact, kanang mga butang, you have no possible way of knowing. Kana bitang abi na ako si Kuan mo nang gisumbag na ko siya. Abi na ako nga inani ang facts dili man di ay lahi. So kana bitang things nga blind kay ka sa facts. But because of that ignorance of the fact, mao na ang imong buhat, no? Dili na ko kabalo unsa pa nga mga things nga ingnana, but you decided on something, you acted on something by reason adtong absence of that fact, no? Wala ka kabalo. So ang question din na, ma'am, so meaning to say, ma'am, katong sister nga gipalo niya iyang manghod, ma'am, din wa man siya kabalo nga iya tong manghod, mapriso ba siya? Dili gyud siya mapriso because in reality, no, she doesn't know. No, she doesn't know that it was her sister. Okay? Please take down notes of these examples because it might be, you know, it might be asked, no, in your quizzes or in your prelims, no. Next is the nataan ng mga vincible and invincible, no. Let's go to the fear, no? Fear is a mental agitation of disturbance brought about by the apprehension of some present or imminent danger. So kaning fear, dili necessary nga naay violence or naay kanang nahihinagiban or something. But fear is something that is created by the mind, no? So for example, if let's say there is in a nighttime, no? In a nighttime kay usually in nighttime man gyud na imminent danger, no? Or para sa imuha naa siya apprehension of some imminent danger. So what if baklay ka sa usa ka kanang ngit-ngit nga iskinitan niya na ay nagsunod sa imuha. Pero you didn't know nga kuan dito siya. Wala lang siya. You thought that it was a hold upper or sa baka karon. So imo siyang giunhan, no? Giunhan nimo siya og let's say kanang self-defense. But the question is, dili man ito siya. There was no intention for that person to do harm, but there is fear on your part. Question, dobig ka ng imo siyang na physical injuries. Are you liable or not? Either you may be liable in a way, but dili siya to the highest penalty. So pwede siya lower lang kay naaman siya fear. No, naa siya fear. Na ay fear sa imong mga part because in psychology, no? Are you following me, people? Are you following? So in psychology,
Yes, ma'am.
nahadlok ka or naa kay gikahadlokan is either you flight or you fight. Duha ra na siya, either modagan ka or musukol ka. Naana na duha. So if modagan ka, so wala human act ana. Kay wala may responsibility, nidagan naman ka. Let's say for example, hubog no naa sa dalan unya nagdala og kanang tawag ani kutsilyo unya naa ka dito katabo kanya unsa may imong himuon modagan ka mao may pwede no modagan ka. What if kining there was actually let's say nagig ka like gihingatan nagig ka sa what's this sa kutsilyo. So either pwede ka nga musukol. Question, kung siya ang madunggaban katong tao nga nag-cause of fear sa imo then wala gid kuan. Either exempted gid ka kay siya may nag-una. Okay? Nasabtan na siya. So although may kulang adto ma'am sa 3 essential elements of human act. Unsay kulang adto? Knowledge, consent or voluntariness, and no outside force. Ahay kulang ana with dinhi sa fear nga modifier. Unsay kulang? Class. Knowledge is more on the ignorance. Unsa man sa duha, ikatulo, voluntariness or consent or outside force? No outside
Ay,
force.
voluntariness ata, ma'am.
Outside first, ma'am.
Bintot man mo naghuna-una. It's actually no outside force. So kanang fear, mao na siyang outside force nga makapaaghat sa imuha og himo og kanang sukol. Diba? Do you really have the intention to do harm to that person? No. Pero kay nagdala man sa ginagiban, lugan, magulat kag dunggabon ka, dili man ka mahulat, no? Are you following? So fear is under the no outside force. So kung naa ang fear, therefore nawala na siya nga element sa human act. And your act, if because of fear you did something on that hubog or that hubog nga nagdalag kutsilyo, giunhan nimo siya bunal o unsa ka imong himuon. Gibunalan nimo siya og kahoy. Unya siya man hinuon ang na injured kaysa ikaw. So dili ikaw ang mabasol. Ngano man siya may naguna-una og hanggat og away or maybe there is fear ba? So you acted out of that fear. Kay kung wala pud tong fear nga iyang gihimo, dili man pud nimo siya bunalan, right? Alangan naman no. So lahi ang istorya kung imo siyang giunhan og bunal. Kung wala siya gihimo, di ba? Do you get my point on this modifier, guys?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Tan-awon yun ninyo sa fear na agad siya imminent danger sa inyong part. So kung hubog na siya, naran siya din naglingkod na tulog, na ba'y imminent danger or wala? Wala.
Wala, ma'am. Wala, ma'am.
Okay, so dili pwede nga hadlo ko sabog atong bunalan. Dili pwede, no? So ikaw, human act ko siya, imo siyang bunalan nga walay fear on your part, no? Pero kung depende na din na sa mga circumstance. So what if buang no, lahi mang hubog og buang. Ang buang pwede manghilabot bisag kinsa kay wa man na siya kabalo sa iyang gibuhat. So pwede pud nga imong naunhan ang buang kay kabalo man ka manghilabot siya. So that's another scenario. As long as na ay present or imminent danger sa imong part, mao ni inyong timan-an sa fear. Do you follow, people? 23 people over here. Do you follow?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Tamoon niya ha. It's already 15 minutes na lang. Okay. Daghan fear no, na slight, na ay grave no. Pero di na tamo deal ana. Basta fear which is coming from outside force nga naghatag og fear sa imuha og nakapaaghat og himo sa imuha og human act no. Although wala siya absence of, one of the three elements, then it becomes an act of man and you're not liable. Okay? Next, let's go to passion or concupiscence. So passion or concupiscence is a movement or sensitive appetite which is moved by good or evil, apprehended by the imagination, or movement of sensitive appetite that precedes the free decision or the will. Kini yung timan-an sa passion or concupiscence no. Gihimo ni nimo either because of sobra nga kalagot, sobra ka happy, or maybe sobra ka basta nasobrahan ang imong emotion. So what is the good example no? Unsay pinaka good example ani? Okay. So na ay either fear, anger, although kaning fear do not confuse it to the fear nga katong isa ka fear no, but I'll give you one scenario. Okay, so in the law no, sa ang balaod nag-ingon ani no, anybody whether the husband or the wife no, husband or wife mo ni inyong timan-an, married no, husband or wife, nasakpan niya ang iyang asawa or bana nga naay ka-affair nga lain and then caught in the act. We say caught in the act, they have carnal knowledge. Unsa nang carnal knowledge, ma'am? First time ko pa narinig yung carnal knowledge. Kanang nag-sex ang kabit o ang imong asawa. So sa imong kalagot, sa imong concupiscence, sa imong grabe kalagot, napatay nimo ang imong asawa o ang kabit, or maybe both of them or one of them, imong asawa. Question, liable siya ma'am or dili? Dili by reason of this passion or concupiscence. Ngano man? Unsa may giingon in the ethics? Because ma'am, in the first place, normal sa tao ang masuko. Pero because on that scenario, nasakpan nimo on the act yun, caught in the act, pwede nimo mapatay ang tao. So ang balaod ni dapig pud adto niya no ang kasakit sa bana or asawa nga nakita niya iyang partner nga nagkakuan sa uban no. So pwede nga mapatay niya. Class, mapatay, wala ang qualification aning exemption is that caught in the act. Dili pwede nga naglakaw ra sila sa dalan na imong patyon, dili pud na siya pwede. Basta ang giingon sa balaod is that caught in the act, having carnal knowledge, sex ba? Okay? Sabta na siya. So this will be the only exception to any act, no? Nga imong napatay. Kaya wala manggid kay, although no, wala manggid kay katungod yun, patyon ang tao. Pero because of that circumstance, mo ni siya ang gihatag. Okay? Okay, let's go to the next. Let's go to actually na duha pud ka passion no, antecedent o consequent no, passion. But dili na ta din ha. Next is violence. So violence is an external force applied by someone or another in order to compel him to perform an action against his will. So very good example of this violence is the violence against women no. Kanang naay bawsi. So if the woman will napatay niya ang iyang bana or asawa because sige na siya kulatahon, then that would be exempted also. Exemption na siya pod. But of course, if there are some circumstance, so busa bitaw na investigation later on nga nganong napatay nimo because there is violence pala in the home, which di man nato makita no. but evidence will tell kung pila na siya katuig gina violence no sa bana. So if ever nga iyang mapatay ang bana, then that would be a modifier, which is violence, which is applied to someone or another to compel him. So very good example also is kanang hold upper or snatcher no nga gitutukan ka o usil no. So there is violence there. Anything that compels you to perform an action against your will. So that's under violence. Okay, nasabtan na. So anything nga nakapaaghat nimo og action, nag-act ka onto something by reason of this violence, no? Then that would be a modifier. General rule, pag human act, liable ka. Liability ang tawag anahan because liability, there is kaakibat na penalty, either priso or bayad ka, no, which is the fines. So if ingani na violence, either the exempted ka or mapriso ka or pero magamay lang ang imuhang penalty. Sabtan class? Sabtan?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Kung tanon ta mo niya, bantay lang muna, pakoy 15 minutes. Okay, last is habit. Okay, facility and readiness of acting in a certain manner acquired by repeated acts. So very good example is the habit of any person, or let's say for example lang, you're a guy and then you have the habit of, say tawag anak kanang magkapot-kapot bitaw with other girls. So there are girls siguro that are very sensitive to this. So what if one day isang araw, no? Kani nga guy kay iyang giakbayan diretso ang girl nga bago pa sa office. So the girl was very sensitive kay very traditional. Nag-file siya og kaso for sexual harassment. No? Kay naa na may karon balaod nga Safe Spaces Act, no? That's very comprehensive law wherein masking insinuation lang sa text messages about anything, no? Pwede nimo makasuhan, no? In protection na siya sa women, no? This March is actually the was this a celebration for Women's Month. So daghan kay balaod really for women nga nagprotect. Ana din sila nga. Sa women daghan kaayo balaod pero pag abot sa laki wala. So that is why question sa habit. So what if that's the habit of that guy and then misunderstood sa girl, then nag-file siya og kaso. Question, mapriso ba siya ma'am or dili? It depends upon no kung ang evidence will say that this person has really that habit. So kung habit na siya, meaning wala siya intention to do harm. Duha man na kabuok guys, no? Kung habit, dapat i-prove sa nga kana siya nga ting nga iyang gihimo that is amounting to a crime. Crime man ang sexual harassment, by the way, no? That this habit is really the habit niya. Dili kay karon pa na niya gihimo, no? Towards a person. So it should be established and that's a habit and there was no intention, there was no bad intention in any case. So kana ma-exempt siya sa liability. Okay? Any question? So we're done with that, no? Okay, any question before we'll have a quiz?
And so far, ma'am.
Are you sure? Okay, let me ask you. If you have no question, I ask you a question. Okay. In which modifier here, wherein you are exempted in the first act? Which modifier of human act? Wherein you're exempted in the first act nimo?
Ignorance, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Ignorance, no? So first act of violation, if it's ignorance of law or ignorance of fact, no? Either ignorance of the fact that the law exists, no? Pwede siya, first violation, exempted pa ka, pero second and third, dili na. Okay. How about which modifier of the 5 modifiers should be established that is a recurrent action of the person? Or always that's a ability of the person that is already that's already established nga naana sa iyahang nga act.
Habit.
Habit.
Okay, very good. Habit. Dapat i-establish no nga wala siya'y Yes, wala siya. Dapat wala siya malice. Wala siya intention to do harm. It should be established, no? In habit, mo ni inyong timanan, guys, it should be established that the action which is considered a habit has no bad intention. Okay? Kung may bad intention ang, depende naman good nas intention later. Pero kung ma-establish na, iyan ang ginagahimuon sa tanan, babae. So, that lady A cannot, the case for, sexual harassment cannot prosper. Okay. In which of the 5 modifiers needs to have a force na ay force or maybe physical harm so that it would be considered
Violence.
Violence. Violence, ma'am.
violence. Okay, very good. So fear and violence, kung imo siyang i-differentiate, sa fear dili necessary nga na ay force. Kaya nga naman, ang fear kay naa naman sa imong mind, nag-create lang of fear sa imong mind. Pero sa violence, duna gyoy what? Unsay naa sa violence? Dapat dunay unsa? Inyong tan-awon sa violence as modifier, dunay
Force.
what?
Physical force.
Dunay unsay giingon dire sa atong PowerPoint, there should be compel.
External or physical force, ma'am.
Okay, makumpel ang usa ka tao to do something against his will. Compel ka ba sa kawatan nga? Sige, pusilon ambi ang imuhang alahas, kundi pusilon ta ka. That's compelling somebody. So that's violence. Okay? That's violence. Compared to fear, walay compulsion ang fear because sa imo naman siya nagikan nga nahadlok ka. Okay? Sabtan siya. And how about concupiscence, no? What's that? It's more on the emotions, no? Very at the height of your emotions, concupiscence. Do you have any question before we'll have a quiz? Questions before we'll have a quiz?
I think wala na, ma'am.
Sure, ha? Okay. So stay put. I'll be giving you the quiz in your Google Classroom. And then I'll give you another activity on non-moral standards and moral standards later. And then, what's this? I'll give you the link. Wait lang. Ay sa magawa, guys. 5 minutes. Kadjut lang yun. By the way, no, nako'y nangakita, no? Are you listening? Nako'y nangakita nga iha paning sulod mga alas 11, no? Sometimes disturbo gud siya, no? Anang musulod nga late. So hopefully later on, no, nga dili mo mag-ingnana. Kung late mo, ayaw na lang siguro sulod. Okay, mag-disturbo kaayo sa discussion. Okay, wait lang. Architecture 1F. So, by the way, I'm monitoring your submissions for the a video for the human act. So I'll adjust this later on to be submitted by 11:59 maybe. So give me time not to post your quiz. All right, class, please go to your Google Classroom. Please check if it's already posted.
Naano siya, ma'am?
Okay, can you please check if you can open the form?
Yes,
There
ma'am.
is
Open that.
Open siya, ma'am. Open siya.
And okay, I'm sharing my screen. Oh, sorry. Wait lang. Wait guys ha. So architecture 1F.
It's 12 o'clock.
Okay. So I can see that that's very minimal, no? Kuan nagig kay na siya, very sayon nagid kayo na siya. So anyway, please open your camera for your what's this? For documentation purposes for today. And hopefully, no, you will submit your video by 11:59 later, and then also do your quiz. 11:59 gihapon siya, no? So kung daghan pa mo gimuon karon, please do not what's this? Do not worry kay dili man gyud diretso karon. So pwede pa 11:59 later. So those of you who are here, 23 of you who are here, thank you very much for joining my class. No, and for those who have points today for your orals, no, thank you very much for joining and very active in answering. Napa mo yung pangutana, guys?
Wala na, ma'am.
Okay, sige. So do your quiz as soon as possible if you can para fresh pa ang nasa una-una. Or not, then later na lang. 11:59 ang deadline, Ana. Okay? Thank you.
Bye, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Thank you.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye, guys. You just go to the link of the live on YouTube para maano ninyo, ma-review ninyo ang mga discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.